Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Behold my dream watch. If this were the white metal platinum variant, I would already own it, and you would not have the opportunity. As is, I can barely restrain myself. This is the Bethune DBD, the DB Digitale, a linear calendar system with a jump hour in a pendant-style watch, launched for 2006 by Bethune. Very few of these were made, only a bare handful in either metal. Now, the one you see here in rose gold is beyond belief. Technically 42.6 millimeters in diameter, but it doesn't wear that way. It wears a little bit smaller. The watch is 14.8 millimeters thick, and because of the pivoted links, one of which is actually inboard at the end of the case, it's only a very reasonable 46.2 millimeters across the wrist. So that's only about 2 millimeters more across the wrist than a 36 millimeter Datejust. So this is a surprisingly compact watch. Now, as you can see, it's an unconventional lug junction. You have a normal lug on one side and then a pendant watch inspired hinge lug on the other side. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But let's see it on my wrist. In fact, I'm sizing this up because when we get one in the other metal, it's going to be mine. On my wrist, it wears well. A handsome timepiece, a watch that's not particularly flat or flush, but has an elegance about it because it isn't excessively broad across the wrist. And I can actually recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference. Even a fairly small female wrist could pull this off, and it's just down to the way the lugs are designed. You can see that it is thin enough to fit underneath some cuffs. Not all, but jackets are just fine. And the watch has a satisfying heft and weight to it. Taking a look once again at the hardware and the software, you can see that the strap is actually rigidly fixed to a rose gold plate, and that rose gold plate is fixed to a hinged lug outboard of the bullhead winder. Now, the watch includes a calfskin strap, as you can see, with a nice nubuck texture, velvety. It has these little profiles along the edge of the buckle that echo the teardrop-like or ogival lug ends that were signatures of de Bethune design in the first years of the brand. You can still see the lug ends of the DB28s and 27s have those built in, but it was more obvious on the original DB1 style case or the DBD. Now, this timepiece, as you can see, features a de Bethune branded rose gold pin buckle for quick adjustments, and then a case that's inspired by pendant watches. As original co-founder David Zanetta was a vintage dealer, Denis Flageolet designs the watches and the engineering innovations, and Zanetta, up until his retirement in 2017, was responsible for the designs, which, though avant-garde, almost always referenced important pieces that he had traded through history in his career as a vintage dealer. You can see everything's of high polish. We have those ogival bullet point or torpedo tip lugs down at the base, and then a dial in Côte de Bethune, which is a sort of narrow, proprietary version of Côte de Genève that the company has devised. We have a lovely ruthenium nickel anthracite base on this Côte dial, and as you will appreciate, we have a stacked display that starts with a linear calendar at the top. There's a white gold plate that's been engraved and lacquered, de Bethune. We have black polished screws holding it in place. Then you can see the pivot jewels, the movement sort of integrated into the dial, and these are the pivots for the displays that show the time. So Thursday, September 17th. If you think Patek Philippe's new 5236P was the first watch to include a linear calendar display, au contraire, this timepiece beat it to market by well over a decade. In fact, 15 years ahead of the curve this watch was, and jump down, it gets even more fun because while calendars are clever but not terribly dynamic, what is dynamic is the combination of scrolling minutes and jump hour here. It is a very charismatic and engaging watch, about as unconventional as a display can get. But there's more. You can see that pusher adjusters are used to correct the calendar, but there's also one for the case back, which is a moon phase display. Now, there are a lot of patents, at least half a dozen, protecting the technologies in this watch. On the reverse side, you can see two of them. One is a spherical moon phase display with an adjustment interval of 1,112 years. One half of it is white palladium, one half of it is blued steel. That's patented. You can see that the cosmos, or the simulated sky and stars, that is actually fired blue titanium. And if you've ever seen oxidized titanium, you know that it's white. So de Bethune created a proprietary process for fire bluing titanium, and then they patented it. Inside, we have a manual wind movement. They call it the caliber 2424, 5-day power reserve, 4 hertz beat rate, and of course it has the moon phase display, the linear calendar, the jump hour. It features triple parachute shock protection system, so Inca block for the balance staff, and then 2 additional flanking shock protection springs for the edges of the balance bridge. That is a patent that improves both shock resistance and chronometry. There is also a patented hairspring shaped by hand, 2 elements clamped together to breathe concentrically like an overcoil, so the watch keeps good time in any physical position, but it doesn't have the thickness or shock susceptibility of the overcoil, and that's another one of the refinements with this watch. It also includes a balance that is a yoke, not a wheel, made of a combination of titanium and platinum. The idea is to minimize the effects of temperature changes on timing, and then also put as much of the mass as possible out at the edge to create the maximum polar moment or turning force to resist the effects of concussions, bumps, and shocks on timing. The watch is 30 meters water resistant, but you need never test that theory. It does feature a rather serious 30-meter rating, however, as the crown, which you'll note is both drilled and knurled. It's actually a screw down for security against accidental setting. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of my dream watch.